This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, your go-to resource for unraveling the intricacies of business and leadership, honing in on the essence of bootstrapping a business from scratch. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a dedicated bootstrapper, or a leader navigating life's various challenges, this podcast is crafted just for you. I'm Isaiah O'Connor, your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, and my mission is to guide you towards personal and professional growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the repost last week. Unfortunately, me and my whole family got very, very sick. And I couldn't do much. Not only was I sick, and still I am a bit. You can probably hear I'm stuffy, but I'm going to try to push through anyway. To apologize for any coughs and stuff that get into today's podcast, but we're going to push on through. But yeah, I was sick. My wife was sick, and my two sons were sick. It was pretty rough, but I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's jump into it then. So today I'm going to be talking about getting woke and going broke and putting politics over profit. Now, it's been a while because I've actually did about a 4-part series on business and politics. I already addressed most of the things I'm going to talk about today, but it keeps popping up, so we're going to have to get into this. So let me kind of sum up what I talked about in the past about business. If your business operates outside of the realm of politics, it's really a good idea to avoid political entanglements with your actual business. Now, I am not suggesting that as a person that you shouldn't be political or have your political opinions and vote the way you want to vote and all that good stuff. No, that's fine. That's your personal business. However, when it comes into your actual business, what you actually do, your product or service, you should keep politics out of it. Now, you do need to pay attention to the political landscape of where you live, your city, your county, your state, whatever. You do need to pay attention because there are some laws that might come through the books that will directly affect your business and cause you problems if you don't pay attention. Now, on this, there's 2 fundamental types of laws that can pose threats to your business. There's general business laws affecting all businesses, and then there's targeted laws that might be targeted against your specific industry. And you need to be aware of these challenges because if you're paying attention and there's a law that can really hurt your business, if you can catch on to it before it happens, you might be able to stop it from happening. Now, just as an example of why this is important to pay attention to some politics, at least, as a business person, not to be completely ignorant of everything that's going on, I never paid attention to my local city politics. But then one day I found out that they were having a council meeting discussing the sale of helium balloons on city property. And as a balloon artist, this was a big deal, especially being that the big day for selling these types of balloons was on the Norwegian national holiday. I do live in Norway, of May 17th, and this was going to be a huge day for me to make a lot of extra money selling balloons. However, I found out about this law that they were discussing going into effect too late. I could not get into the council meeting. I was not allowed. I did not know what forms to fill out. I couldn't get in. And then they only had the anti-balloon lobby. Yes, there's such a thing as an anti-balloon lobby out there. And they got the law pushed through. So basically, I woke up, looked at the news, saw now there are no helium balloon cells allowed on city property. Now you can sell helium balloons, but you can't sell it in public on the city property during the busiest day of the year for balloon sales. So that wiped out a huge chunk of income immediately overnight. And then, that was a city law. Now, there was a national law trying to ban all balloons, my entire industry in all of Norway. Fortunately, we caught on to this because we're paying attention to these types of laws, and we managed to get the largest balloon seller in Norway, who has been working with balloons for decades. He managed to get in, and he managed to be able to speak to the parliament on behalf of the balloon industry and counter the, quite frankly, rather extreme viewpoints of the anti-balloon lobby and prevented the bill from being passed. So, yeah, you definitely want to pay attention to politics, especially local politics that can directly affect your business. And if there is something like an anti-balloon law that pops up, because it does, then having your customers be aware of it and help you out, then that's a good reason to become political in your business when it's pretty focused on your business, on what you do and how it affects you. So that's just kind of the overall outline of what I delved deep into on my previous 4 podcasts about being political and what you should do for politics and everything else. Now, problem is, in the last few years, almost everything has become extremely intertwined with politics, and it's been really, really hard to remain apolitical. And the problem is, a lot of organizations have just given up and decided to jump in and pick a side and start pushing a single side's political message. So the problem is, when a business decides to pick a side and start advocating for messages, political, it's when the message is absolutely has nothing to do with the core product. And by choosing a side and choosing a political viewpoint that has nothing related to your core product, like I said, got a bill coming down trying to ban my business from existence. Well, yeah, that has everything to do with my product. I am picking a side, my side, because I don't want to be put out of business. So that's very political, but it's directly dealing with me. I'm picking a side because I don't want to lose my business. So, obviously. But the problem is, there's been a lot of businesses lately that have prioritized their political stance over profits, deeming it worthwhile to push a political message instead of pursuing business, which you should be the primary focus. Is you're a businessman, woman, you do business. That's it. You do business, you do business. Politics don't need to be part of it. Now, this may work. I've seen some businesses get very political, even though it has nothing to do with their products or service. And it worked for them because of their location and their scale. Smaller company that were located in an area where most of the people in their neighborhood, most of their customers, felt the same way about politics, and so that worked out fine for them. Problem is, when your company is a larger company or in an area where the overall political feeling might be mixed or completely against you. You don't want to come out and push a political message in that area. Now, again, this is what is called lately something called the get woke, go broke phenomenon. My goodness, I can't speak today. Again, I apologize for this really messy podcast today, but I am still sick. But again, pushing through, so again, bear with me. So, when major companies that are across the entirety of a huge population, such as the United States, 350 some million people, picking a side is generally not a good idea. And the reason why the term get woke or go woke, go broke has come into play, it's because the majority of political messaging that's being embraced by companies is often associated with what is termed woke ideology. And the challenge is that this ideology tends to lean heavily towards the far left side of the political spectrum, which it proves to be offensive, or at least annoying, to the moderate and right sides of the political spectrum. And according to Gallup, that's about 75% of the US population is either centrist, moderate, or right. So, potentially alienating 3/4 of your market for the sake of a minority 25% is a perilous path that can lead to some really disastrous consequences. And with that, at the moment, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take a pause. We're going to go into the mid-section break here, and I'll be back. Okay, welcome to the mid-break today. And this week, I do not have any new Apple reviews or any new patrons to shout out. So it's going to be a rather short mid-break, especially since I'm under the weather and not going to really have a lot to do. But just to remind you that if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will read it out as soon as I get a chance to. And then if you would like to help support our work here, you can just go over to patreon.com and go ahead and join. And we got a free week at the $5 a month starting point. We can join our Patreon, or not Patreon page, our Discord server, and get a few other goodies. Okay, anyway, not much for mid-break this time around, but we'll continue on. Okay, so we're back from our short little break there. Now, what brought this back up was some recent massive corporate setbacks, you could call it, with Disney and Bud Light, who recently experienced significant losses because they embraced pushing the quote-unquote woke narrative. In 2023, both companies incurred substantial losses. Disney lost around $900 million in its movie revenue. I've seen different reports. One was 1.4 billion, 1.2 billion, and Bud Light lost about 1.4 billion in sales loss as well in 2023. Now, with Disney, let's start with Disney, because in September, Disney actually acknowledged that their messaging was, quote, misaligned with its customers, and it is one of the causes of their decline. And here's a direct quote from their SEC filing, which says, "We face risk relating to misalignment with public and consumer taste and preferences for entertainment, travel, and consumer products, which impact demand for our entertainment offerings and products and the profitability of any of our businesses." And their filing further elaborates, "Generally, our revenues and profitability are adversely impacted when our entertainment offerings and products, as well as our methods to make our offerings and products available to customers, do not achieve sufficient consumer acceptance. Further consumer perceptions of our position on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, often differ widely and present risk to our reputation and brands. So, to elaborate on that, to kind of sum that up and put it into a little bit more modern English, what they're saying is we've been pushing social and environmental goals, and it's hurt us because our consumers don't like it. In a nutshell, it's legalese, it's SEC filing after all, but as it said, our consumers' perception of our position was a big factor in their losses because of their environmental and social goals. So that led to massive losses in their brand. The movie after movie after movie after movie, I think they had 5 major bombs that didn't earn back their expense in a row because they were pushing political messaging over their regular product, and people did not like it. And then you have Bud Light. Now, Bud Light is traditionally a brand that has targeted males between 21 and 35. Now, this demographic is, according to Gallup, is statistically more likely to lean conservative or moderate in their political views. Again, men tend to lean slightly more conservative. I think it's like 60% men versus like 40% women lean conservative. So men tend to be leaning a little bit more conservative, a little bit more moderate. Now, Bud Light decided to hire a trans activist, TikTok star, which I'm going to have a whole nother episode on the dangers of using social media as guides to see what people like. That's a whole nother bag of, can of worms. But the TikTok star, Dylan Mulvaney, to promote their product. Now, I've seen some people, oh, well, it was just a single can, and no. I looked at it. It was several ads this person did. And Dylan Mulvaney is very, very polarizing. And it's especially going to rub a young conservative to moderate man the wrong way. And because of this, it sparked a massive, if not one of the biggest boycotts I've ever seen in history, which was ongoing to this day, caused them to lose 30% loss in sales and about $1.4 billion total sales lost. And not to mention, they lost a huge amount of market cap and stock value. Now, the problem was this was the decision to intertwine politics with their marketing. And they're still making some headlines about how the boycott is still going on nearly a year later. Now, obviously, I'm, seem to be coming out pretty strongly against the whole woke politics thing, but it's not. The reason why I'm talking about woke politics so much, it's because when looking at controversial businesses, there's a notable absence of businesses coming out and to push conservative-leaning policies and politics. Now, some businesses, the ones I've noticed that are very, very clearly conservative, that operate under a faith-based model, have always been transparent about their faith-based business practices, such as In-N-Out Burger. Now, if you go to In-N-Out Burger, they don't tell you not to go donate money to the Republicans. They're not sitting out there trying to convince you to do something else. if you support this Republican Party or the Democrat Party, they don't care. They will sell you a hamburger and fries, and that's it. They don't care. Same with Chick-fil-A. They don't care. They don't push their political viewpoints on their customers. Now, there have been controversies around these businesses, but these controversies always seem to arise from their political donations. Now, the problem with that is these are kind of something that people just do because all businesses donate money to different political parties. Now, In-N-Out Burger faced a boycott for supporting and donating money to the Republican Party, while Apple encountered a boycott for its contributions to Democrats. Now, from my perspective, a business making political donations doesn't equate to thrusting politics upon customers, and most of these actions are typically discreet, and they only really bring them to light when people want to push a political agenda and create headlines and get attention. So, no one cared about In-N-Out Burger promoting or giving money to the Republican Party until it was an election year and people wanted to stir up controversy and make headlines. Same with Apple, where people were stirring up controversy to try to boycott Apple because they donated to Democrats. Now, quite honestly, it's your company, your money. Who you donated to is up to you. Really don't care. If you want to donate money quietly, then you do. Again, when In-N-Out Burger donated money to the Republican Party, they didn't announce it. They didn't make it big headlines. They weren't putting it in their advertising. They weren't making commercials. They didn't say, we proudly support the Republican Party. No, none of that. They just made a donation, and then somebody was digging around, and they found out they donated, and they made a big stink about it. Same with Apple. Apple donates a ton of money to the Democrat Party. They always have. And people have boycotted Apple because of this. But again, if you see a commercial for Apple on TV, you're not seeing, we proudly sponsor the Democrat Party. No, you don't see any of that politics getting mixed into their actual business. So I really don't care about that. But the problem is, there's so many companies that have decided to choose woke politics and literally put it into their product or their commercials and their marketing. And that's where the problem comes, is when you start pushing it onto your customers. See, the thing is, with politics, even if you agree with the political message of a company, you don't want to deal with a political message from a company. You just want to be able to sit down, watch a movie, perhaps have a beer, or shave, because that's what you want to do. You don't want to hear a political message from your razor company. See the huge write-down of Gillette when they played this game and lost. When, I take my kids to go see a movie from Disney, I don't want a political message in there from either side. I don't want it to be showing, well, this is what we think should be right. No, that's my kids. I want to tell my kids what's right and wrong. I don't want Disney to be doing that. I don't like them pushing politics in there. Even if I agree with the politics in the message, if it's not a political on purpose option, then I don't want to deal with it. If I want to watch a movie, I just want to watch a movie. Just at random, I'm going to pick a movie that I like. Here Comes the Boom. Not a very well-known movie with Kevin James. Great movie. There's no politics in it. Makes it great. Matter of fact, the biggest Marvel movie to date was the Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man movie, because there was no overtly political message on there. Same with Top Gun. Top Gun came out, huge numbers, no politics. So people are just tired of politics. Even if they agree with the politics, they just don't want it in their face all day long. Because in this day and age, you can't get within 35 feet of a phone and go online without being inundated with some sort of political messaging. All your algorithms are driven by it. On X, on Facebook, on YouTube, all these things. Anything you watch, if you watch anything political at all, it's going to be popping up in your feed. It's everywhere you go outside. It's in the news, on the newspapers, on the TV screens. It's everywhere. Politics are everywhere. And when you're a company that is just supposed to make movies that are relaxing, or you're a company that makes beer, people don't want to deal with it. They just don't want, it's enough. Too much. Stop. Back off. Now, kind of to start wrapping up here, in my opinion, and this is drawn from observing this for nearly a decade now of being in business myself, over a decade, just about a decade of me being in business. In about a month, I've been in business for 10 years now. Being in business and paying attention to things, it's politics. When you bring politics into your business and make it part of your business messaging, it becomes a cancer, and it can destroy and undermine all your hard work. Now, of course, there's exceptions with businesses that are explicitly political businesses. I mean, one that I still think it's kind of funny is a website called The Best Political Shirts. And it's obviously a political company. It's in the name. And it's thriving and doing well because it is political for people who want to make political statements. Hence, political t-shirts. And of course, if you're going to be a political company doing a stock and trade on politics with your opinion, great, perfect, do it. And that, if your business is going to be politics, that's fine, do that. But if your business is making movies for kids, if your business is making beer, if your business is making razors, then shush. I'm getting a little annoyed, sound passionate, but seriously, all the politics, all the time, and all the business in all your face gets really annoying. People don't care. Matter of fact, if people do care about politics and you offend them because your opinion's opposite of theirs, well, remember, people do not buy products because of logic. People buy products because of emotion. Now, some products, it might be just the cheapest product. People don't really care much. I buy butter. I need butter to make food. I go into the grocery store and got wife, kids, not a lot of income. Oh, look, this butter's on sale. I'm going to buy that butter. Not a huge emotional connection to that purchase. However, if that butter company has been making ads, talking about politics and about how you should be doing this or that or the other thing and pushing a narrative, I'm going to go, you know what? I just want butter. I don't want politics. And because that company has offended me, because that company has made me angry or has annoyed me with politics, I'm just not going to buy that package of butter now. I'll go with this brand. You see, when you take a product that should have nothing to do with politics, and or even emotional choice, where people can look at it and go, okay, this is a high quality product at a decent price, I'm going to buy it. And if you put a negative feelings, emotion on that product, you're going to sell less of that product. Even if the person agrees with your politics, they don't want to be bothered by politics all the time. And so, again, I see it over and over again. Companies are pushing their politics over their profits, and it's backfiring big time. Anyway, I know this is a little bit harder one, but it's been driving me nuts. I've been watching businesses do this, and it really saddens me, quite honestly. I'm going to be doing in the near future, I'm going to be doing a breakdown on how Disney has gone down huge in overall profits over the last few years. I was looking at them, and they've gone down from like 400 billion to 200 billion, like half their value in the last few years. So I'm going to start digging into that because, if you've listened to this podcast for a long time, you'll know that I'm a big Marvel fan, and Star Wars and Disney, and I used to love this stuff, but because they've gotten so dang political, it's just too much. And I look at their stuff, and I look at their business, and I look at them getting worse and worse and worse and failing, and it saddens me. And they moved away from their roots. Now, the book, great book, Entrepreneurship the Disney Way. I reviewed that book on this podcast. Great book. Everything in that book, at the time that book was published, everything about that book, nothing about what they did was political. It was all business, and it was all focused on creating a great company. And I want that Disney back. I don't want the political Disney. It's annoying. I do like the non-political, let's just make good family entertainment company that they used to be. Anyway, I will tackle that on in a future podcast, probably pretty soon. Anyway, just remember, when it comes to politics, it's best not to put them into your business. It's best to just leave it out of your marketing. Just don't push messages. If you want to push a political message, great. Start a political company. Do something political. Go join a side. Go work for a campaign. Start a political podcast. Start a political t-shirt company. Great. Perfect. I don't care. But when it comes to businesses where you risk losing 75% of your customers, probably not a great idea. Because remember, you can't push a message if you don't exist anymore as a company because you went out of business. Now, I'm going to leave off with this. There's a quote from a monk from the 1700s, which goes like this: "You can please some of the people, some of the time." Let me read that quote. Okay. "You can please some of the people all of the time. You can please all the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time." So, yeah, play politics, and you're probably going to get people bugged. So, anyway, I'll leave it at that. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. If today's episode added value to your day, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and consider giving us a stellar 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or more. And remember, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will personally read it out in the next episode. To support the show, you can make a one-time gift by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap, donate through PayPal at paypal.me/IOCPOD, or make a contribution on our Patreon page at patreon.com/IOCPOD. Your support keeps the episodes coming. For even more content and exclusive perks, join our Patreon community at patreon.com/IOCPod. Patrons enjoy ad-free episodes, access to our private Discord server, early content previews, and a lot more. And here's an exciting offer. Get your free trial of our $5 a month Bootstrapper Community Explorer tier. This exclusive tier grants you ad-free content, Discord server access, and early content previews. Join us and be part of the inner circle. If you're feeling more generous, those who join tiers $25 a month and up will have a chance to be a featured guest on this podcast. A massive thank you to Wintergotten for generously providing the incredible intro and outro music at no cost. We appreciate their support. Be sure to check out Wintergotten's amazing work on YouTube at youtube.com/@Wintergotten. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor, signing off. This is the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, brought to you by Athos Business Solutions. For our companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, along with past episodes and related blogs, visit our website at athos.com. That's ATHEOZ.com or theoz.com. Goodbye for now.